Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another Q&A session in Vedic Astrology. And I picked a question again from my YouTube post. I actually put it 3 times. Do you know that? I put this question 3 times. First 2 times I raised it because I just didn't find anything interesting that I could be like, oh, this is a great subject for me to talk about. Third time when I put it, I got one. So make sure you come up with something extremely, extremely unique. Okay, something that just brings shivers down my spine. Like, oh, this is a subject that I would love to talk about. Think of it in that terms. What would I like to talk about? So I'm picking this question from Nidhi Mata. She asked planetary combinations of unconventional careers, such as spiritual coaching, life coach, opposite to ones that are common: doctors, lawyers, accountants, also the nakshatra that give unconventional careers. So this particular, uh, you know, avenue of question is actually very simple. What what is known as unconventionalism in Vedic astrology? What are the things that represents unconventionalism? The two of the main things that we all should know, we should already know, is Rahu and Ketu, north node of the moon and south node of the moon. Rahu Ketu are very unconventional planets. They will always try to go against the social norms of society. They will always try to break the barriers of the orthodox society. And kind of like if it's a peaceful water, they would like to throw hot coals in it just to see what happens. See, that's the thing about Rahu Ketu in the modern day and age. It's not like these are these demons or these Rakshasa that are trying to cause some havoc through their powers. No, in modern day, see, unless you can update what something means and for the modern man, then astrology pretty much has no use for you and I. So, in that context, Rahu Ketu represents people who like to throw those hot coals, really hot burning coals into a cold water to see what happens. What will happen to the water? What will happen to something inside the water? That's what it is. So, anytime Rahu or even Ketu impact your 10th house, your 10th lord, your Atmakarka, your Artha lord, the planet that represents income and money, it'll always steer a person towards an unconventional path. And the only difference between Rahu and Ketu is that one is exterior, the other is interior. So Rahu, the exterior, the extrovert, will like to become more heroic with their career. They want to shine. They want to be noticed for their unconventionalism. The interior planet, okay, the introvert planet wants to do something unique, but without getting the fame, notoriety, power, prestige. So, in a way, you can see that a Ketu introvert career would be represented by someone like Einstein. Someone who just does not care for fame, money, glory. For them, their obsession was research on light, research on theory of relativity. Okay. Where Rahu, okay, could be someone who really wants to attain that power and notoriety and their name stamped everywhere. like, for example, Edison. And yes, both of them had very unconventional career. One researched on light, and one made a career out of light and electricity. One was an average upper middle class person, especially after their fame. The other was a billionaire. Probably if they sustained their wealth and were alive now, probably could have been a trillionaire, or at least $600-700 billion in their pocket. This is the difference of, finding unconventionalism. The second thing, and this is just my own observation, this is nothing like written, in any books, but the nakshatra of Ardra and Swati are the two of the most unconventional nakshatras. You're going to have to do something completely away from everybody else in order for you to sustain yourself. Forget about fame and notoriety, and wanting to find power. No, unless you do something different, you just can't seem to find yourself in as your place in the world. As much as you may even think, well, what about Satyabhishak? Yeah, but Satyabhishak is just more secretive. Satyabhishak, it's outcast, really relies on working within the system but being an outcast. Like, for example, working with the government, within the government, maybe as a spy, cybersecurity. But Rahu or Ardra Nakshatra and Swati Nakshatra are these 2 points that when prominent planets are placed, or at least the planet whose dasha you're running, meaning as in Vimshotri dasha, they're gonna always steer you towards a unconventional path. This is why Swati is known as entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs have to break the rules. Entrepreneurs have to go through all kinds of ups and downs in order to make their mark. And entrepreneur doesn't mean that, well, they just want to open up businesses and take risks. No, because in the modern day, entrepreneur takes very calculated risks. They're not out there just like, like a drunken sailor, just borrowing money and putting money in different things, seeing whatever works out, okay, that's it. No, they are extremely calculated. They're not just out there to just be an entrepreneur. There's a reason behind it. But that reason is to bring something else within this world that maybe other people don't have it. People don't know about. Ardra is this electric storm, right? It's this jolt of lightning. Now, jolt of lightning in the middle of a normal weather is very unconventional. It brings that fear and excitement. It brings this sudden daylight for a split second, in your home or in your area. So it becomes very unconventional. Like, wow, imagine if this lightning even happened for 10 seconds. Okay. The entire night would just glow like a daytime. Wow. How unique, how, how unconventional is this? But again, every nakshatra has their unconventional uniqueness, but it's just that it's these 2 nakshatras that I've seen that will bring this uniqueness. And also unconventionalism is something I've seen with Anuradha Nakshatra. The reason why with Anuradha Nakshatra, because Anuradha Nakshatra is about setting trends. Anuradha is a trendsetter. So they will do something that now everybody else starts following. Everybody else starts doing. Like, for example, back in the days, podcast wasn't looked at as anything wonderful, nice, unique. It was just whatever. Okay? But then Joe Rogan, who was like the number 1 podcaster on this planet, okay, whose horoscope I actually did on YouTube and on my Spotify, Um, he set a trend about just sitting with a mic and then talking and discussing things just openly. Even though I'm sure there are other people will say Howard Stern, but that was more radio. It was more traditional. It was under the rules of FCC. Joe Rogan was just on his website and a webcam. He set a trend. So if I have to say something besides Swati and Ardra, would be Anuradha. Now, spiritual careers. Well, spiritual careers is not really a career, it's a path. Just teaching people and being a life coach is just the byproduct of what you know, what you have discovered in this life. So there's no combinations for becoming a life coach as a spiritualist. No, are you going to be a spiritualist first? For that, there's many combinations, which I actually discussed in my last couple of videos, where if you have 4 or more planets conjunct together, 10th Lord is involved in that conjunction, and Jupiter is not combust, that is a yoga. It's called the Sannyasa Yoga. It's a yoga for a person who wants to give up the material things and just embrace higher spiritual realms. Then I discussed if 5th Lord goes into the 12th, receives aspect of Jupiter. That's one combinations for a spiritual path. If, let's say, Moon is in 6th, 8th, or 12th house, especially in the sign of Saturn receiving the aspect of Mars, that's a spiritual combination. If Moon is in the sign of Mars in 6th, 8th, or 12th house receiving the aspect of Saturn, that's a spiritual combination. Saturn Ketu conjunction together and Venus being in a position of damage, that's a spiritual combination. Because one only attains a spiritual path and a spiritual freedom when they don't have to deal with the bondage of unionship and marriage and being a householder. Whether it's a man or woman, doesn't matter. Then there's other like Muni yogas, ascendant of your Navamsha conjunct the ascendant of your birth chart in the birth chart. That also becomes that combination of a person who can go towards a spiritual path. Then there are certain combinations, especially in Trim Samsa for women, where certain alignments, again, I don't want to get too technical because some of you probably don't even know what Trim Samsa is. It's a D30 chart. It's known as a chart of diseases for people in general, but also it's a chart where you can see the inner engineering of a woman. What is this woman about? How are they going to reveal themselves to the world? Through the D30 chart. And there's many combinations given in Faldipika. But the thing is, I don't remember those combinations because I've never strictly done these type of readings for people, for me to focus on them constantly. See, that's the thing about astrology. Only a very high qualified astrologer seriously can take any situation of this modern economics and modern world and show it through astrology. People like you, me, and most others, they're more concentrated on certain things because we don't have time to do research. I don't have time to look at 200 charts and then spend months and months, because if you know, a good astrologer will spend at least 8-9 days to sometimes weeks on a single situation in a single chart. We seem to not have that patience anymore. So anything can be proven through astrology. It's just that, have you worked out that formula and have you tested it and blind tested it? See that, so we, at least someone like me, will always run into those blocks that, okay, this situation just came up. How much experience do I have with this situation? Perhaps none, perhaps little. So there's many of these combinations out there. And there's many of these things written in the classics that have to be transformed into modern day uses. And especially when you look at life coach, life coach, business coach, motivational coaches. Um, that will be seen, especially Jupiter's aspect on the 10th house. Jupiter in the 10th house. Nakshatra of Purvashada and Pushya come into play very strongly because they become the priest and priestess of society. Now, they may not be priests, they could be just an entrepreneur who's kind of trying to uplift people. But you will see all these multitudes of combination, making someone unique, unorthodox, life coach, and on a spiritual path. Okay. So hopefully I've answered this particular question. And also one thing I wanted to say is that I uploaded a video on the perfect combinations, the perfect matchmaking combinations on my KRS vlogs on my academy, Magha Vedic Astrology Academy, which you can find the link here under course section or in the description. And you will see my horoscope matching videos. And next one I'm supposed to make regarding dashas, how two different dashas of two people, how they are supposed to be matched, and what happens when one is in a one dasha, the other person is in a other dasha. And dasha also kind of gives that insights into the longevity of marriage and unionship as well. So that's an important thing that I'm going to be uploading probably tomorrow. All right, तब तक के लिए आके दीजिए, धन्यवाद, बाय बाय.